Nah. You been getting in here, giant ass wasp. coffee. Okay. Excellent Imagine Dragon shirt. Well, thank you. You know, they're one of my favorite bands of all time. I don't really think I know any of their songs. I wonder if they picked that stupid name because it rhymed. Like that was the only reason. Mm, mm, mm. I gotta look up a gun that I'm using in this story. Trigger Guard, a writer's guide to firearms. Very handy. 6 round. I just figured they were a bunch of D&D dorks. Yeah, that could be it too. And one of them was pouring everybody in the party a generous pour of Mountain Dew, and they had the Doritos second. They were into their second bag of Doritos when somebody said, "Oh, I wonder if we're gonna fight dragons," and then the dungeon master said, "Imagine dragons," and they all just stopped. Yeah, right. They just kind of ran through, and a lot of yeah, he could have edited. I watched which one did I watch? I watched a couple this weekend, but now I can't remember which ones. I don't remember. I watched the Firehouse one. I had no idea all those years they were huge in Europe still. Is there one specifically about Slave to the Grind? I don't know if it's the science guitar thing. I know I've seen something like that. I know that he has a Skid Row one. There's a one I keep seeing, but it's not one of his. It's specifically about Slave to the Grind. I think the title is something like the hardest hair metal album of all time or something like that. There's Nick Zinn. What scared the cat? I yelled so loud. Or he knew Nick Zinn was in the house. Yeah, go Firehouse. Firehouse subs. Can't remember what other one I watched though. The problem is that it just totally throws my algorithm for YouTube so that I'm not seeing any of the writing ones or the book review ones, which are the ones I need to keep watching and following. Build up the YouTube. Hope everybody watched the Chuck Buddha interview, Nicholas Harvey interview. There's another interview coming up. I don't remember which. Oh, they just dropped a new one on Tough. Ah, Stevie Rochelle. Isn't that his name? I'll have to watch that. I might just like pick like an afternoon, like on the weekend, and just like, you know what? Instead of watching all these shark shows, I'm gonna watch like 2 hours of this stuff. It might drive me nuts though. Nuts, I say. Nuts. So we're in the chapter 12 of Fade to Black, which then will catch us up right back to where we need to be. There's Chad Lutsky. Chad Lutsky, I got a question for you, my professor friend. Were you the person who turned me on to C.W. Blackwell? Answer the question. Hard Mountain Clay, that's right. Okay, perfect. So the short story collection he just put out is, I don't remember the name of it, and I just did a review of it. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. I gave it 5 stars out of 5 stars, my highest rating ever. You're not well for Mr. Blackwell, so you know that exactly. I actually will have him, Mr. Blackwell, coming up on my YouTube interview series in another couple weeks. I read that short story collection and loved it. There's horror, there's noir, there's thrillers. It is just perfect. Not a bad story in the bunch. But I have Hard Mountain Clay. I just haven't read it yet. I think I even mentioned, I don't mention you by name, but I mentioned somebody in the interview. And then when you popped on, I'm like, wait a minute. Time out. Chad Lusky. So here's my problem, my dilemma. Nice. Finished that Ron Rash book, One Foot in Eden, and I'm reading David Joy's The Line That Hells. So I grabbed the Ron Rash book. In fact, I went to the library today. I drove out and I got the first 2 of that Ron Rash series and added it to the pile. But as I'm driving over, right? Saturday I was out all day, and driving the pickup truck, and we have in both cars we have the satellite radio. Here's my problem, man. Because Ozzy passed away. I don't know if you've heard that or seen that 87,000 times per hour on Facebook. But Ozzy's no longer with us, Ozzy Osbourne. And so they've been playing on Ozzy's Boneyard and Hair Nation and every other metal one. Yeah, Ozzy died. You probably didn't even realize that because you literally, I think even if you lived in a cave, somebody by now would have carved it. Never heard her, exactly. They've been playing a ton of Ozzy and Sabbath, which is fine. But it's like the same 12 songs over and over and over. I get it. Ozzy and Harriet. I get it. I see what you did there, Nick. Showing your age. of an 87-year-old man. And I'm like, I don't like fairies wear boots. And you're playing it every fucking hour. Enough. Enough. Now I get to meet Chuck Mangione. I played that. I said to Shelly, Chuck Mangione. She's like, I don't know who this is. I said, 100% you know who that is. Let me play you the beginning of this song. And as soon as it starts, she's like, oh yeah. She's like, I've heard this 100. I'm like, you've heard this. At this point, you've heard this in every time you've gone to Publix and they're playing music. Anytime you've been in an elevator, you've heard this song. Yeah, they play Perry Mason a lot. No More Tears, which I love that song, but I don't want to hear it like 6 times. Like literally, I got in the car at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and then I was back home at 7 p.m. And a lot of that was me in the car, and a lot of that was Perry Mason, Fairies Wear Boots. I'm like, enough. Just play something different. Between Sabbath and Ozzy, you have like 10,000 songs to play. Nixon is definitely a flugelhornist. Oh, I've heard that rumor too. I've seen the videos. Only on weekends, Mr. Frank. That was so cool about Guns N' Roses said at the tribute concert. They dug as deep as you can go with their Sabbath cover. Junior said it's alright and never said exactly. Exactly. I'm like, man, if you just said, hey, listen, we're going to just play Ozzy for the next 2 weeks, but we're going to start with Black Sabbath. We're going to put Black Sabbath, we're going to put the needle on the first song, and we're going to play it all the way until Ozzy's out of the band. Because God forbid you play anything from Dio or anything off of Trashed or any of the Tony Martins, any of that stuff. But we're just going to play all this. And then we're going to play all the Ozzy solo records, all 4,000 of those. You know what I'm saying? When Ozzy finally dies, everyone is going to realize his solo stuff is the soundtrack for his funeral. That's what he was doing the past 50 years. Exactly. Lots of rainbow in the dark, yeah. Radio has ruined War Pigs, Iron Man, and Paranoid. Yeah, I didn't hear War Pigs or Iron Man, but I did hear Paranoid about 15 times. And on the Liquid Metal station, that guy, that DJ who's always on, who I can't stand because all he does is fucking talk, he played 3 different covers of Paranoid by other bands. I'm like, all right, none of these are as good as the Sabbath version, but whatever. I'm personally a fan of Gary Cherone era Sabbath. Obviously the best era. I mean, when Gary Cherone dies, I mean, they're going to play those 3 Extreme songs and that maybe one song off of that Van Halen album that he did. Maybe. Probably not. How dare you even give us that visual, Mr. Frank? Have they played War Pigs by Faith No More? I've not heard that yet. I did not hear it on Saturday, and that's a good version. So Saturday I went down. I was like, I'm going to go visit my mom in Ormond Beach. And I met with Chris Adler, not the drummer from that was in Lamb of God. I gave him a bunch of books. I bought him lunch at the River Grill, and he gave me the mugs for MondoCon 2025, which look really cool. Everybody every year gets a coffee mug. This will be the 5th year of coffee mugs. Already, my wife's like, you're not putting a coffee mug in the cabinet. You better put it on your shelf. I have not done that yet. I gave one to my mom, though. Chris is cool. Nice guy. It was fun after like 7 or 8 years. He used to do Reaper's Brew coffee. But, cool dude. He talked tattoos. I told him my son was a tattoo artiste. And he's like, oh, does he do cover-ups? And then he pulls up his sleeve, and he had a very troubling tattoo on his arm. I won't say what it is. I'm sure you can imagine. I'm sure you've seen enough shows on Vice channel. You know what I'm talking about. And I was like, oh, He's like, yeah, I used to like run with a motorcycle gang. I said, I forgot. I'm glad we're out here in public. Frank says, once I drank Mountain Dew and ate Pop Rocks and listened to Fairies Wear Boots backwards on my grandfather's sousaphone, and I accidentally summoned Gene Shalit. Cover-ups, no, only scandals. Yep, Snoopy tattoo. You hit it right on the head. But a Snoopy with Lucy and no Charlie Brown. Scandalous. Yeah, so the funny part was when he showed it to me, I immediately knew exactly where it was from, what specific group of people, I will say. He's like, yeah, I did dumb things when I was a teenager, bro. And I'm thinking, you're 50, dude. Oh, Frank. He turns 50 this year in December, and you and him share the same birthday. He wanted me to tell you that. Chris Adler wanted me to tell you, you two have the same birthday. He turns 50 this December. No way Gene Shalit is still alive. No way. 112 years old. Gene Shalit. No, not Gene Shalit. 99 years and going. Wow. I don't want to live to be 99. I am Adler's appetite. Exactly. So he was very excited that you two share a birthday. He's like, how old's Frank? I'm like, I don't know. He's younger than me. He's like, is he turning 50 this year? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what he's turning. I was really like, I don't care enough to know how old people are. It doesn't, unless you're under 18. But yeah. So we had a good time. 52 this year, you old bastard. And that's why the show pulls in the views. All those gene heads tuning. Oh yeah, all of them. You think you're turning 52? I thought you were turning 51. Shelly thinks you're turning 49 this year. I'm like, again, I don't know. I don't know. He read one of your books recently, and I guess you put a birth date in there or something. I don't know, whatever. Something happened that he figured it out. Waiting for Mr. Frank to turn Japanese. Exactly. That's what you do with your flugelhorn on the weekends. 70 through that does make sense. I'll be the big 4-0 next year. Next year, what, 15, 16 years ago? You lying son of a... I'll tell you, this is probably, physically, this is my worst year. 55. This is, like, I feel like I'm 1,000. I am gaining weight. I'm just tired all the time. I'm just fucking exhausted. Nick Zinn's cover of Turning Japanese and the Flugelhorn. Also my favorite. Also my favorite. There's Tom Duffy. We've been talking so much shit about him the last 25 minutes or so. Finally he gets to come in and stick up for himself. Go ahead, Frank. Attack him again. You look great though. How's your bit rate? My bit rate is fucking spectacular. My bit rate is pleasing to the naked eye. You know what I'm saying? Want to remind everybody to subscribe or resubscribe here on Twitch, and also follow me on YouTube. Starting to build that up now, which is nice. And that Chuck Buddha interview is just flying off the shelves. And that Firehouse video, good advice from John Bon Jovi, did not release Love of a Lifetime. Yeah, that was my favorite part of that. Yeah, nah, yeah, no, you're gonna kill your career with that song, or I'm gonna make a shit ton of money. Either way. What's funny though is they were like, "Oh, that's that was everybody's wedding or prom song," and I'm like, you know what? The first wife, that was literally that was our wedding song. Anytime that song comes on now, I groan. Luckily, Ozzy died. I don't know if anybody knows Ozzy died. Luckily, Ozzy died, so they're only going to play those 4 Black Sabbath songs and those 4 Ozzy songs, basically for the rest of the time that I pay for satellite radio. Armand, have you done a rant yet about how everyone is an Ozzy fan now? No, I have not. I think that's just kind of a given. Here's was my mom's take, right? I go and see my mom, and she's like, "Oh, Ozzy died." I said, "I had no, Mom, I had no idea. It's all over." So I had no idea. She's like, "I like that one song," and she likes Ozzy. She likes like when I was a kid, my mom had the first Black Sabbath album, and she liked watching like the Osbournes and the shows, and she's read up all of the autobiographies of Ozzy that I'm sure Geezer Butler wrote. And so she's a fan of Ozzy as a person, just not really a huge fan of the music. Gene Shalit era Ozzy, well, yeah, obviously. But my mom was like, "Oh, there's that one song, that ballad that I just love." Like, what song? She's like, "I don't know." She goes, "I remember when you and your brother were teenagers and you were playing it one time, and I just loved it. And then you came home from school one day, and I was playing. I had gone into your room and was playing the album, and I'm like, changes. You know, think about a romance. Like what? I don't know what." She's like, "I don't know. Your daughter tried to go play every Ozzy in Black Sabbath ballad, but I couldn't figure out." So yeah, I don't know. But she had no idea, and I'm like, all right. But she had watched the Billy Joel uh, bio thing. It's like a 2-parter. Suicide Solution, maybe, yeah, yeah. I think she was Bark to the Moon. That was her favorite song. So she had watched the Billy Joel thing. So then she was like, all of his music still stands up. She's like, and nobody knows really, like all that heavy metal stuff is. But and like, I'm like, don't even go there because a billion people in the world now are Ozzy fans, Mom. I said everybody knows. Everybody knows Crazy Train. Yeah, everybody might know. Uptown Girl, but not because they liked the song, because it was fucking everywhere in the 80s. I said, but everybody knows Ozzy. Everybody knows all that. Like, you're gonna tell them it's 55 years this shit's been out, and now with people dying this is gonna go. This is gonna. I'm not saying Billy Joel is not gonna. People 30, 40 years from now are not going to still be listening to Billy Joel, but they're still going to be listening to Sabbath and Ozzy, so calm down. Billy Joel doc is about 17 hours long. That's what she said. She's like, it's super long. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I have the time. I still got a lot of Shark Week shows and Shark Fest shows to watch. I can't be getting into all that. Close My Eyes Forever. I don't think it was that one because I always hated that song, and I would never play that. I don't think my brother played it either. And that didn't come out when I was a teenager. I don't believe. Dancing with Billy Joel. Yes, I believe that's. But I'm like, I grew up listening to Billy Joel. Everybody likes Billy Joel, but I don't want to watch. And then my mom's one of those like, let me just tell you this one part. I'm like, I don't want to hear any. Don't tell me any parts. Don't tell me any parts. Like, did they talk about when he lived in Deal, New Jersey, and he had the house built to be a piano, shaped like a piano? She's like, no. I said, I told you that. I did the flooring in that house when I worked for freaking Gary Scheinberg, his flooring company down there. We literally put in the floor, and they had built the house, and it was shaped like a piano. I don't know. Again, I'll watch it at some point. You know what I'm saying? I'll watch it, but don't force me to. You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. That probably what she was talking about. That song will. It could have been. I think it was Changes. Is what I think it was. But I was like, I'm not going to pull my phone out and start playing music for her. Because at that point, I'm like, I want to get the fuck out of here. I want to go home. I'm so let down by this year's Shark Week programming. It feels like they're giving up. It's a lot of just like, hey, we have hundreds and hundreds of hours of shows from the past, 30 years. Let's just everything we played last year, let's just double down and play it again this year. Sharkfest had better shows. Sharkfest had more new shows. I watched a couple yesterday with the dude who lost his arm, who got and his leg was bitten off. He's got like an Australian accent. A couple of shows. I watched the I don't know which Sharkfest or Shark Week, but it was the Black Mako of the Deep, or Black Mako of the Abyss. That was pretty. That was a good one. I like that. Especially the woman in it. Although she was skinny, she was wearing yoga pants a lot, so that was pretty good. All good, but yeah, I have a bunch of them that are taped, and like one of them's like Franken Shark. I'm like, if this is not about Frank Edler, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch like dumb shows. Oh, let's see if we can combine the the greatest traits of sharks. Blah blah. That's stupid. I'm out. I'm just gonna delete you. All Australians have been bitten by something deadly. It's part of becoming a citizen. That is probably true. It all looks like it was shot by the production crew from Skinwalker Ranch. You think it looks that good? Black Mako was okay. I like that one. I liked it. I watched and I think it was an older one, the Florida's Death Beach, where they talked about New Smyrna Beach. But then most of it was not at New Smyrna Beach. I'm like, you have literally, it's the shark attack capital of the world. There's more attacks there at the inlet than there are in the entire world combined. And yet most of that episode was them 10 miles out looking at giant sharks that are not attacking people. So I was like, yeah, you guys, you missed the mark on this one. Frankenshark was dumb. I'm sure it was. I have the one with Dickie Tape, but I have not watched it yet. And we're only 3 days from the MLB trade deadline, and Aaron Judge got hurt again, which is fucking hysterical. That dude just cannot stay healthy. The Florida one was mid. Yeah, again, you knew. I'm excited. Like, oh, New Smyrna Beach. I've been there a million times. It's right south of Daytona. And then they don't really show anything. They show some, stock footage of surfers. Whatever, stock footage, people. Get this move, all right. I'm gonna get this chapter done, so Tom can get the next chapter done, and so on and so forth. Jaws versus Mega Croc was, yeah, I saw that one. That was also dumb. I don't like those. I don't like those Jaws versus Giant Snake and Jaws versus. I'm like, you know what? That whole thing could be like a 5-minute YouTube video. I also hate when they do those. They always do those, and they're standing in a warehouse, and there's 2 tables, and then they put the AI Mega Croc on one and the AI Jaws, and then the people are talking to it, as Look at his giant this. Oh, look at the teeth on that. You can't see anything. Jaws versus Ozzy. That I would watch. That I would watch. Have we already given up on Phil Collins dying? What's going on with Phil? Because then there's going to be an entire channel on satellite radio of just Phil Collins and Genesis songs. Even that one good song. Don't ask me the name of it. I don't know. I'm just making that up. Ozzy would have a chance because of all the head biting. Yeah, that is very true. And because all of the drugs that is still in his system after all this time, they don't go away. So he probably won't even feel the pain. I watched the new Alien Shark last night. Apparently, we've covered all the alien sharks. Is that with that dude who has kind of and he kind of talks funny, Garrett or something? He's got the beard. He's doing. I know I think this week coming up, it's like Animals on Drugs, like a 3-part show that he's doing. And I watched a bunch of his stuff. He does like Animal Planet stuff. He's pretty good. Of course, I had to watch the Expedition Unknown, the Expedition X, their shark ones. Those are givens, and of course they play all the old ones that I've seen. When they came out. So as I'm driving around on Saturday, I'm like, I don't want to hear Fairies Wear Boots again. Let me find something, another station, maybe something that is not going to play Ozzy. Ozzy's Ampuli of Lorenzetti, very sensitive. And I'm like, oh, channel 312, Bon Jovi channel. Let's put some Bon Jovi on. And it was like 5 straight songs of shitty, whiny Bon Jovi from like the last 20 years. Where he's like, let me just write an acoustic song about getting old. Let me write an entire album about I'm getting really old and my voice is not what it used to be and I can't hit these notes anymore. And I'm like, oh, enough. Just fuck. Let me just go back to Ozzy's Boneyard. Boom. Fairies Wear Boots is still on. Oh, thank God. I've only heard this 8 times. Nope. I don't know how anyone can listen to the radio. I haven't tuned in for probably 30 years. I'm not listening to the radio. I'm listening to satellite radio, which normally has DJs that'll say a couple of curse words and then they put the next song on. Except when you're on a long trip, you hear the same fucking songs over and over. Just like regular radio. Billy Joel doc is 5 hours long. Why couldn't they do 5 1-hour episodes instead of 2 2.5-hour ones? That's dumb. Is the second part only doo-wop era? Yeah, that was my 1970s Billy Joel, phenomenal, phenomenal. Then once you get into all that doo-wop bullshit, I'm like, no. Part 2 is vignettes of him getting pulled over on the Long Island Expressway for DWI. Sabotage is 50 years old today. Put that on instead. As I've said many times, I got into Black Sabbath because of Dio, and I while I love a ton of Ozzy Sabbath, I don't love all of it. I think a lot of it is garbage and filler. The only album I can listen to straight through every song, and not all of them are great, I can listen to is Master Reality. That's my favorite. Children of the Grave is just a phenomenal song. Yeah, put on Sabotage. Hole the Mountain King. I remember that was on. We were going on a trip somewhere, and that came on Ozzy's Boneyard. And like I don't know, it feels like it's like a 47-minute song with all the climaxes and drama. And at one point, Shelley's like, "Seriously, can we put something else on? This is just awful." How old is Keel? Ronnie Lee Keel? Some of the Blook instead of Some of the Blood. Like, what the fuck is a Blook? Why'd I type Blook? I can't pick a favorite Ozzy era Sabbath. I have the box set with the velvet hardcover book. I'll probably crank Sabotage today. In honor. Technical Ecstasy is obviously their best album by far. I don't know. I mean, again, I was never a diehard in the that I love every song. Like Kiss fans are like, oh, every song is great. I'm like, really? Every song, every fucking song they've ever put out is the greatest song ever. I don't think so. I mean, some of the bands that I grew up with that were like at points in my life were my favorite bands, whether it's like Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or Metallica or whoever, Slayer. They all had bad songs. They all had filler songs. You know what I'm saying? Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In. Not all those songs are great. There are very few perfect albums. Not sure if you're poking fun, Tom, but that album is incredible and highly underrated. So is Never Say Die with all the jazz influence. I'm just going to leave that right there, Chad. Did you just compare Poison to Sabbath? Yes. Facetiously, of course. Are you saying Accept had a bad song? Accept had many, many bad songs. And I love the band. Absolutely love them. But there are songs that are better than others, and there are songs that are just not good. There are songs you're just not going to listen to again. Every single on Look What the Drought Kicked is was perfection. How dare you suggest otherwise? All the singles, yeah. Those 6 songs are awesome. The other 4 songs on the album are total filler garbage. Anvil, only band without a band. I would argue Anvil, only band without a good song. Except had bad songs except for on Metal Heart and Balls to the Wall. 2 perfect albums to me. 2 albums I can listen to a million times. But then there's albums like, some of their stuff in the 70s, is, there's some decent songs, but nothing really all that great. I'm a Rebel, great song. But they're not albums that you can listen to. Best The Bastard Down is not a bad Accept song. But there are certain things that you just. Metal Church's first album, yeah, that's a great, great album. That's a phenomenal album. And then the second album has like half of the album is good. Metal Church's problem is first album, 10 great songs. Second album, 6 great songs. The next album, 3 great songs. And then it just kind of progresses there. Yeah. So the first big show that I saw was Metal Church opening for Metallica, November 1986 at the Capitol Theater in Passaic, New Jersey. Don't look for it; it's not there anymore. And I had never heard Metal Church, but I knew they were playing, so I listened to that first album. I'm like, oh, they're pretty good, but they were so much heavier. I guess they're like, well, we're opening for Metallica, so let's like turn up the guitars, and they were phenomenal. They're one of the few bands that I was like, you know what, I saw these guys and now I'm hooked. I also saw Stryper with Hurricane opening at the Capitol Theater. Operation Mindcrime, exactly. That's another perfect album. And again, the album after that had mostly great songs, 1 or 2 phone it in filler songs. And nothing before Operation Mindcrime was necessarily bad. Right from the EP on, I thought they were really, really good, but you had 1 or 2 songs. The problem is you always saw this dude, Jeff Tate, wanted to do a lot of more ballads and stuff, which is then when they started, Silent Lucidity, and we got a big hit out of this, so let's just do this. That is a good one. I'll tell you another album I absolutely love is that first Junkyard album. Just banger after banger in that. Ugh. Guitars for Minor Threat is in Junkyard. Still a great album. Listen to Nuclear Assault's drummer. They had no bad songs, and he wrote all of them. Tom, that is very true. The greatest songs ever, ever, top 100 songs are all by Nuclear Assault, but only the ones that Glenn Evans wrote. The lead singer of Junkyard could be the next musician. That is true. But you know what? They're not going to play 4,000 Junkyard songs in a row. But we're all getting ready to hear some Phil Collins and Genesis. Maybe it'll just be out of left field. There'll be somebody who are like, "Holy shit! I had no idea Elvis was still alive." I've never listened to Junkyard. What? Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Still one of my favorite bands. Not a bad song. My imaginary girlfriend loves Phil Collins. I can't explain why. Yeah, you can. Simple Man for 82 hours straight. Yeah. Bobby Ladley has got to be on the celebrity death list, but he's like Keith Richards. Yeah. Simple Man, great song, and Hands Off. Phenomenal song. Phenomenal. Thought Mr. Frank wrote Simply Red for 82 hours straight. You know what? Really, you could play Simple Man or anything from Simply Red. Or anything from Fine Young Cannibals. Holding Back the Years on loop. I can have that. Red One, UB40. Exactly. Hopefully one of the guys from Frankie Goes to Hollywood is next. And then we'll just have to hear Relax over and over and over 1,000 times. But do not fuck with Rick Ashley. You know what I'm saying? You leave that boy alone. Pretty sure the radio played November Rain 82 hours straight when it came out. Yeah. But then MTV doubled down and played it on top of every hour for 2 years. Okay. Chapter done. Get her done. But James Taylor Copper Line I could listen to on repeat for days. Next page, next in. Next page. Because the chapter is done. Bow. You know, despite Siamese Dream being a perfect album, it's got one of the worst album covers of all time. There's a lot of bad album covers out there. I think that's what always turned me on to like Iron Maiden. Because you could look and you could immediately know it's an Iron Maiden album. But there are tons of bands, especially in the 70s into the 80s, that had just all random covers and they just weren't. They told you nothing about the band or the music or anything, and it just was not good. You know what I'm saying? All right, Tom, I finished the chapter. I am going to go get some reading in now. Which means I'm going to go take a nap. I got to get some stuff cleaned up. Strip all the beds. Get all the beds, all the sheets and pillowcases and all that washed for MondoCon coming in less than 2 weeks now. Yeah, Thursday will be a week from this Thursday. Pretty cool. Thanks for everybody hanging out with me. Thanks for all of this music talk. And I will be around. If I'm around tomorrow, it'll be 1 p.m., but on YouTube Live. But don't count on me being on. But definitely count on me being here on Wednesday. Right back here on the Twitch. See you later, Nick. See see you later. All right, everybody, have a great day.